The man accused of killing Memphis teacher and heiress Eliza Fletcher is due back in court this morning, one day after police discovered the 34-year-old mother's body behind a vacant duplex apartment. Cleotha Abston Henderson is facing charges including especially aggravated kidnapping, tampering and fabricating evidence, and first-degree murder. Bob Bianchi is a criminal defense attorney, and he joins me now. Bob, good morning to you. This is just an absolutely brutal tragedy. You have a young mother with her whole life ahead of her, and now she's dead. What are your top-line thoughts on this case?
You know, I think this case strikes a chord because the fact that this person was an innocent, jogging on her own and got abducted. You know, I said this all the time as having been a prosecutor for many years. These are the kind of random kind of crimes that make you afraid to have your daughter, your son, your wife, your husband go out because you never know if something like this can happen. The only question, Carly, in my mind is I'm wondering whether or not this person had been stalking her. He has a previous kidnapping where he kidnapped a male attorney, I believe it was, for money 20 years ago. He served a 20-year sentence. And I'm wondering whether or not he knew that she was very wealthy and had actually been stalking her. So as a prosecutor, when I investigated these cases, I'm going to want to go through her whole social history, his social history. I want to go through all the internet, the phones, to see whether or not this was just a random thing or whether this was something that was plotted in order to try to get some money, extort some money from her. That is something that I'm being very keen on right now. And, of course, whether or not anybody else was involved.
Yeah, so she was the heiress to a $3.2 billion hardware supply company, and the man that this suspect kidnapped 20 years ago apparently worked with Eliza Fletcher's uncle. They worked in the same law firm, so there definitely is a very unique connection there. Short of a confession from this suspect, do you think that investigators will ever be able to discover a motive?
I think that they're going to wind up discovering a motive because I think they're going to go through, you know, it's very hard not to leave a footprint anymore, Carly. When I first started doing this, we didn't have the internet and all of the social media accounts and the phones and all of those particular kind of things. But look, the motive was money before. I did not know about that connection you're bringing up right now. I would not be surprised whether or not she was a targeted person. Yeah. This is something I'm definitely going to be interested in. And that body that they recovered from her is going to be so key for investigators, because it's going to bring that trace evidence that unless he washed the body and cleaned it very thoroughly, is going to actually connect them even further, not from a circumstantial point of view, but directly into the case itself. But I do think they're going to come up with a motive.
And there's also Abston's criminal record, and it began when he was first arrested for theft at age 11. He was then convicted of rape at age 14, later went on to serve 20 years in prison for the kidnapping we just talked about of a well-known attorney at gunpoint and forced him to withdraw money from multiple ATM machines. So he served his 20-year prison sentence, but we are once again talking about a repeat offender, and you just have to ask yourself, could this have been prevented?
Yeah, Carly, this is a question that we ask all the time. I mean, the fact of the matter is, having handled thousands of cases as a prosecutor or a defense lawyer, most people do not repeat offend like what we're seeing here right now. And then there are some that do. And so this is the conundrum of prosecutors and defense lawyers. How much punishment is enough? There are many people that commit crimes. They serve a significant sentence. They don't get re-involved. But then there are some, like this individual, who has a propensity to commit crime. And no matter what you do, once you release them, they're going to go back out and they're going to commit crime again. And as prosecutors, it becomes, I can just tell you firsthand, it becomes very, very difficult to know which one is going to be one kind of person and which one's going to be a different kind of person. I would really like to delve into the records of what he was like when he was in the institution, when he was in the jail, when they gave him parole. What was the records they had before him that assured them that he was not going to be a danger to somebody in the future? And that's where I see the system falling apart a lot of times.
Just such a tragedy. Bob Bianchi, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, Carly, thank you.
Absolutely. Todd.